over 24 other mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and neighbors were injured. Hundreds, if not thousands, will be psychologically scarred by yesterday's events. These individuals, our community, and Lake County will never be the same. We are grateful to the unbelievably courageous law enforcement officers who were there when the shots were fired right here, in this pathway. They and other law enforcement agencies from throughout the state came to this spot of danger. They came to help, they came to protect, they came to comfort, and they came to investigate. Federal agencies, including the FBI, ATF, and U.S. Attorney's Office, have also been critical partners in this investigation, and you will hear a bit more from them this evening. These officers not only ran towards the danger, but worked tirelessly throughout the day and night to investigate and solve this case. I want to also thank all of the community members and business members and leaders who provided us with dozens of videos and photos. We continue our request for those photos and videos. This is still an open and active investigation. Please continue to contact all of the tip lines that we have suggested. To those who are physically and psychologically suffering today in hospitals and in homes throughout our community, we offer our most fervent and urgent prayers. We offer prayers for healing, even though it feels that it may be so far away. I know that Mayor Rodering and Highland Park Police Chief Lou Jogman, Lake County, and our federal partners have already started the critical work of supporting the individuals who need us so much while they are in the throes of trauma. Today, our office deployed victim witness counselors and licensed therapists also to Highland Park. Dozens of private individuals have volunteered to help. This has been one of the most uplifting things I've ever seen in Lake County's history. The community has come together, even in the throes of trauma. The loss of life and these devastating injuries and the overwhelming psychological trauma demand we seek justice and that we take broader action to protect life. Today, the Lake County State's Attorney's Office has charged Robert Cremo III with 7 counts of first-degree murder for the killing spree that he has unleashed against our community. These are just the first of many charges that will be filed against Mr. Cremo. I want to emphasize that. There will be more charges. We anticipate dozens of more charges centering around each of the victims. Psychological victims, physical victims, attempt murder charges, aggravated discharge charges, aggravated battery charges. There will be dozens of more charges against Mr. Cremo. But these 7 counts of first-degree murder will lead to a mandatory life sentence should he be convicted, without the possibility of parole. None of these charges would be possible again without the unbelievable efforts of law enforcement. I cannot thank them enough. I have to thank the men and women of the Lake County State's Attorney's Office who have been working with law enforcement since the moment that we identified a suspect. We continue to work with our federal partners to understand every aspect of this well-orchestrated and carefully planned crime. Tomorrow morning at the Lake County Courthouse, we will ask a judge to hold Mr. Cremo without the possibility of bail. As I mentioned, our support for victims started today, both from the State's Attorney's Office, from the Mayor's Office, from the City of Highland Park, from the Police Department, from the FBI Victim Assistance Group. We will guide them through the court process and deal with the trauma that will ripple forever outside of the courtrooms. But how do we make sure that there are no more victims? What should have been a celebration of freedom has ended in despair for our community. All of the people who died steps from here lost their freedom. All of it. Every ounce of freedom that they had. The freedom to love, the freedom to learn, and the freedom to live a full life. Their freedom matters too. We must do more as we think and reflect upon their freedom on this July 5th. Illinois has a strong red flag law that keeps communities safe and respects everyone's rights. We must vastly increase awareness and education about this red flag law called the Illinois Firearm Restraining Order. The goal of this tool is to ensure the safety of the individual and those around them. It allows courts to temporarily remove guns and prevent the purchase of new guns by individuals who pose a significant risk. As I said, this tool allows temporary removal from the subject and prohibits the new purchase during the duration of the order. It allows individuals to stabilize their behavior, seek treatment, and access other resources that our community must invest in to give those who need help. But separate from these red flag laws, which are very powerful in Illinois, we should also ban assault weapons in Illinois and beyond. The assault weapon ban was implemented in 1994 with bipartisan support and with the support of law enforcement. It lasted for 10 years, and studies have shown that mass shootings like what happened yesterday went down during those 10 years. We should have that same ban in Illinois and beyond, in the entire country. The Lake County State's Attorney's Office stands with the people of Highland Park. As I said earlier, this is where I am raising my family also. Our Violent Crimes Unit will continue to work with all of our law enforcement partners to continue to build this case. As I said, it is an active and ongoing investigation. Our Victim Services Unit will answer every question, every text, every phone call, and every concern. We will stand with the survivors of this awful crime for as long as is necessary. In the courtroom, we will seek the maximum sentence against this offender, not because we seek vengeance, but because justice and the healing process demand it. As we go forward in the courtroom and in the community, we must do everything we can to make sure the horror that marked these streets, that echoed from these buildings, never happens again. Thank you very much. At this time, I would introduce U.S. Attorney and really our partner in this investigation so far, U.S. Attorney John Lausch.
Thank you. My name is John Lausch. I'm the United States Attorney here in the Northern District of Illinois. I want to echo some of the same words we just heard from State's Attorney Reinhardt and commend all of the law enforcement partners and agencies who are represented here today and all of our first responders for everything they did to bravely put their lives on the line to help others in need. Our office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and our other Department of Justice components, most notably the FBI and the ATF, have been working very closely with our state and local law enforcement partners to investigate this horrific attack. We have been and we will remain in regular communication with these partners, and in particular the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. And I've been in regular contact with State's Attorney Reinhardt since the beginning of this investigation. These state murder charges are appropriate at this time. We will continue to deploy our federal resources in collaboration with these state and local partners to ensure that individuals who commit horrific acts of violence like this using firearms are held accountable. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Chief of the Highland Park Police Department, Lou Jogman.
The last approximately 36 hours have been a lesson in the duality of humanity. While the actions that brought us all together expose the cruelty and callousness that one person could show to people he did not know in taking their lives, the unwavering commitment of our Highland Park team, the drive and determination of those who assisted us in making this arrest, and the outpouring of love and support from the community and from people across the nation and the globe have shown us the best in humanity. The American spirit weaved throughout this response to this horrific and absolutely senseless act of violence. We would not be standing here this afternoon announcing the arrest of this suspect without the assistance of countless law enforcement agencies from multiple counties from the Illinois State Police, FBI, ATF, NIPUS, Lake County Coroner's Office, the hospital staff, our medical community, and Deputy Chief Chris Cavelli of the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force. Thank you. To the Highland Park community, your strength has buoyed our team through the darkest moments. To our City of Highland Park team, the Fire Department, Public Works, our City Manager's Office, our Finance, and our Community Development Departments, your contributions have been invaluable, and we thank you. To Mayor Rotering and the City Council, thank you for your sustained engagement and unwavering support. And to the men and women with whom I serve alongside in the Highland Park Police Department, it is an honor and a privilege to serve with you. Your commitment and determination to see justice served for this community inspires me. I am proud of Illinois law enforcement. At this time, I would like to introduce Lake County Sheriff Deputy Chief Chris Cavelli, who's been a spokesperson for the Major Crimes Assistance Team.
Thank you, Chief. I'm just going to read a brief statement on behalf of the Victim Service Response Team of the FBI. Beginning tomorrow, the FBI's Victim Service Response Team will be working in conjunction with local, state, and federal aid groups to staff a Family Assistance Center. At the Family Assistance Center, victims will be offered trauma counseling, government aid assistance, and if necessary, financial assistance. Victims are not just those physically injured in yesterday's events, but also those experiencing emotional distress. The center will open tomorrow, July 6th at noon. Victims of yesterday's incident are invited to access available services at the Highland Park High School, and that's located at 433 Vine Avenue in Highland Park. The Family Assistance Center will be available from noon tomorrow until 9 p.m., Thursday and Friday from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., and thereafter as needed. Additional information regarding the return of personal effects left at the scene will also be released tomorrow. With that, we are going to open it up for some questions. I would just ask for a little bit of patience. We have a lot of stakeholders that are joining us today, so we can filter who is best to answer each of the questions asked. Phil?
Chris, could we ask a question of the State's Attorney, please?
Yes.
Mr. State's Attorney, you went out of your way to note the red flag laws. We now know that this individual had contacts with law enforcement in 2019, where in one of the contacts he said he wanted to kill everyone in his family, and a number of knives were taken away from him at that time. Should that have been a qualifying event under the red flag law, which would have prevented him buying firearms in 2020 and 2021?
We have to look at every case on a case-by-case basis. I don't know the internal process of the Illinois State Police in terms of after that report was taken. We know there was not an application for a FOID pending at that time. The current red flag laws, you have a process where things are reported to the Illinois State Police with respect to FOIDs, and then you have the red flag laws, which is what I was referring to, which were passed in 2019 or effective in 2019, in terms of getting a court order where family members and other individuals who know the person at issue have to go to a court. So my reference to the red flag laws refers to that regime. With respect to the Illinois State Police, that has to do with the FOID application process.
So if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is possibly his qualifying events were before the fact, before he actually had applied for a FOID, obtained a FOID, and purchased a
I would definitely refer all of those questions to the Illinois State Police in terms of that internal process back in 2019.
Sir, I talked about family members. The timeline. Does this mean that he had a legal guardian who sponsored his FOID card? Did he get his FOID card before he was 21? Did he have a legal guardian who sponsored him? And if so, are you looking at charges at all? For
I am absolutely not going to get into that level of detail on the investigation in our process.
Okay, I have a question, and probably multiple people can take it. For somebody who planned an escape, dressing as a woman, seemed to have said nautical, do you have any theory why somebody would leave a weapon, an easily traceable weapon, then on the crime scene that could lead to your identity being known easily and swiftly?
I'm not going to play.
Investigators are very thoroughly looking at every aspect of this. There are a number of theories on the table as to why he left his weapon there. I don't want to get into and speculate anything at this point. You know, there is still a lot of investigative work to go, but that is something investigators are looking into.
I mean, essentially, did we leave it because he thought he couldn't make his escape easily if he wasn't holding a large rifle?
That's very possible. It's very clear to investigators he attempted to blend in with the rest of the victims who were fleeing the scene. Carrying a rifle, I would imagine, wouldn't allow one to blend in very well.
But are we right that weapon left behind might as well have easily leads to the identity of the person who owns it?
The weapon led to him directly.
Like leaving your driver's license.
Sorry, can I
Do
get
we
back
know
to
at
this?
this point why he went to the Madison area before coming back?
Investigators are still looking into that. They're still working many different angles. We do know he went on a drive following the events, but as to why, that's not something I can get into right now.
Question for U.S. Attorney Lausch. You said at this point state charges are appropriate. When do you deem the federal charges late?
I think the best answer for that is to echo the same points that were made. This is an ongoing investigation, and it really wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment any further at this time. But that the charges right now, these are very appropriate charges right now.
Fair to say federal charges are coming.
It should not read anything into it one way or the other. It would not be appropriate for to comment one way or the other whether or not there will be federal charges.
Can you describe when local threats land on federal radar and what tools you have to identify and prevent these things before they happen?
Okay, so there's a lot packed into that question. Here's what I will say: is the partners that are here, okay, and in particular FBI and ATF are the ones that are standing with me. They work every single day in order to mitigate threats that they learn of. And this is a particular instance when we had the horrific attack that happened yesterday, how they came to right away in order to help law enforcement ultimately be able to make this case and to bring the appropriate charges in state court. But again, at this point, I think it's fair to say from our end, this is an ongoing investigation. I'm very proud to be up here with my colleague from the Lake County State's Attorney's Office, but it really wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment any further about whether or not any federal charges are likely.
Chris,
Thank
can
you.
you give us any further clarification on the weapons, where he obtained them, and what the enumeration was?
So what I know firsthand at this time is that 2 of the weapons were obtained within the region here. Those were 2 of the rifles. The rifle used in the attack was purchased by him. And I just want to follow up on the question that you asked a little earlier. It's important to note Highland Park Police, when they responded to that 2019 incident, they removed the weapons that Cremo possessed. There were no firearms at that time to be removed. So as the state's attorney said, the red flag laws, there were no red flag laws to go after firearms in that home at that time.
Now, you said the rifles were obtained in the region, but there were there were 2 rifles and was it 4 handguns?
I can't say 4 handguns. There were a total of
Or,
5
I'm
guns,
sorry, I'm sorry, 3 handguns.
5 firearms that he possessed.
Okay, what about you said the 2 rifles in the region, what about the remainder?
They were bought in Illinois. I'd have to get specifics as to exactly where.
He got the FOID card before he was 21, is that true?
Yes.
So that means he was sponsored by a legal guardian?
I don't want to speak to the process of the Illinois State Police. I don't have enough of their internal information to accurately respond. Yes, sir.
So, Chris, what happened with when he went in the house and got the knife, would that appear on a FOID investigation? Would that say somebody went in the house and got some knives off and stuff?
Again, Highland Park Police notified the Illinois State Police. Where it goes from there, I don't want to speak to it.
All right, your question. Family at all, have they been cooperative with the investigation? Do you have any reason to believe that they may have known things?
At this point, we don't have reason to believe that they may have known things, but the investigation is still very active. Investigators have a lot of legwork to do still.
Has the family been cooperative with the investigation?
What I'll say is investigators have spoken to the family. I don't want to gauge their level of cooperation one way or another.
If you received a high-capacity magazine, if so, how many rounds were in that magazine?
The magazines held approximately 30 rounds of rifle ammunition. Thank you.
Very much, everybody. Again, if you guys could just hold here for a minute, I'll have some more information for you shortly.
How many magazines were there?
Multiple, over 70 rounds.
Hey, Dana, your keys? Is this my bottle of water?